Morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well today. We are on Mathematics, Lesson 5. So Module 3, Lesson 5, called Solve Multi-Step Problems with Multiplication and Division. So that was the packet that you've got in your materials that starts with page 69. There's a little picture of a guy in a boat on it. So looks like this. Let me show you, make sure we're all on the right page here. Looks like that. And this is the lesson for lesson 5. So we're solving multi-step problems with multiplication and division. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and get started for us here today, and I'll have you all follow along. Hopefully by the end of today, we will be able to say this statement with confidence, that I can solve multi-step problems with multiplication and division by writing equations with letters representing the unknown quantities. So we sort of got into that with doing the inverse operation of the multiplicative comparisons. We had introduced a little bit of division, and so today we'll be taking that to the next step. Okay? Speaking of steps, let's take a look at this. Step it out. Number 1 says, airboats are a popular way to tour areas with shallow water. A small airboat can fit 6 people. A large airboat can fit 4 times as many people. How many more people can fit in a large airboat than a small airboat? So we're going to take that information here, and let's just take a moment to read that question again to yourself. And now I'm going to go back and read it one more time. This time I'll be reading it for meaning and making sure that I'm underlining important information. Airboats are a popular way to tour areas with shallow water. A small airboat can fit 6 people. A large airboat can fit 4 times as many people. How many more people can fit in a large airboat than in a small airboat? Okay. Now there's more to this than just knowing how to do 4 times 6, guys. Okay, so that's just something we need to keep in mind. So we're going to break it into smaller steps now by using a bar model, and then we'll be writing our equation to complete that step. So let's start out with our bar model. Okay, the smaller boat, I should say, can hold 6 people. The larger boat can hold 4 times as many as that. So this would be if it was 1 times as many, 2 times as many, 3 times as many, 4 times as many. Okay? And then this n here is representing our unknown value that we don't know. Okay? We know that the problem says that the large boat can hold 4 times as many as the smaller boat. So 4 times 6 is n, and then n equals 24. So we would say that 24 people can fit in a large airboat. Okay? Now, let's take what we know and take what we did in the first part of the question now and turn up the difficulty a little bit. Use the result from part A to find how many more people fit in a large airboat, m. Okay, so the reason they said it like that is because m is the unknown value here that we don't know yet. Okay, so let's start with we're going to use the result that we got from part A. So the small airboat still holds 6 people. Now we know that the large airboat holds 24. Okay? And so something plus m equals something else. Well, the 6 is what we know of. If we look at the bar model that we just did, we know the 6 plus something is going to be the rest of the whole, which is the 24 here, right? So this missing amount here is what we're looking for. So how would we find that missing amount? We can use the inverse operation. So then we would say 24. What plus 6 would equal 24? We could do 24 minus 6 and get 18. So we could say that 18 more people can fit in a large airboat. Okay?
Can I have your attention again, please?
Okay, so now we're going to continue on to page 70. The next step it out. Okay, the first one was an additive comparison, so it would make sense that we would now be looking at the multiplicative comparisons. So let's take a look on page 70. A park has reptile shows every weekend. There were 27 people at the show on Saturday. That is 3 times as many people as on Sunday. how many people saw the show that weekend? Okay? Take a moment again to read that to yourself. Okay, and now we'll read it one more time together. A park has reptile shows every weekend. There were 27 people at the show on Saturday. That is 3 times as many people as on Sunday. How many people saw the show that weekend? Okay, I always start these questions out by asking myself, which show had more people at it, on Saturday or Sunday? Okay, this is telling me that there was 27 people on Saturday, which that number is 3 times as many as on Sunday. So that is the bigger number. Saturday's total is the bigger number. So to find out how many people saw the show on Sunday, then we would want to make sure that we are taking the information from the problem. So 3 times S, which is the unknown value, 3 times S for Sunday, and multiply that and get our total for Saturday. Okay? So then we would use division to help us to say the inverse of that, the opposite. 27 divided by 3 equals S. So if you know your multiplication facts for 9, then you would know that S equals 9. Okay? 9 people saw the show on Sunday. Okay? Now we're going to use what we found out in Part A to help us solve for Part B. Use the result from Part A to find how many people saw the show. Okay? So if we want to think about what these numbers represent now. Okay? The information from the question told me that on Saturday there was 27 people who saw the show, and then we solved to find out the total for Sunday, which was 9. So then we have 27 plus 9 equals 36. So that weekend, 36 people saw the show. Okay? Now, I kind of worked quickly through there, and I didn't show my addition, but you could certainly set up that addition vertically to make sure that you're showing all your steps there. Okay? Let's go down to the bottom now where it says check understanding. Now we're going to be writing equations to model and solve the problem using letters for the unknown. So all the things that we've just been doing condensed into just more concise without all the breakdown of step by step. So number 1 says Met counts 5 birds and 8 times as many insects in a park. How many more insects than birds does Met count? Okay. Met counts 5 birds and 8 times as many insects in a park. How many more insects than birds does Met count? That's a short question, but they're asking you to do quite a bit of work. Okay, so 5 is the number of birds, but in order to find out the number of insects, we need to take 5 times 8, which will equal n, and n equals 40. Okay, so that 40 is the number of insects. Now the question says, how many more insects than birds does Met count? How many more? Well, we would have to subtract the larger number minus the smaller number. So the larger number is 40. Minus 5 equals, let's use m, and then m equals 35. So she counts 35 more insects. Okay? Number 2. So you see how we did the multiplicative comparison first, then we did the additive, which we were able to solve through subtraction second. Okay? Number 2, there are 7 times as many toys as maps in the gift shop. There are 35 toys. How many toys and maps are in the gift shop? Again, this is a 2-part problem. So we first need to find out how many of each toys and maps we have. So it says there are 7 times, right? There are 7 times as many toys as maps. Okay? 7 times as many toys as maps, and there are 35 toys. So that would tell me that M is going to equal the missing factor here. So 7 times what is 35? 7 times 5 is 35. So M represents the number of maps, right? So there's 35 toys plus the number of maps equals N, and N equals 40. Okay? So there are 40 toys and maps in the shop. Okay? So first of all, just knowing that you need to do both steps is a challenge in itself. So reading the problem and finding out how to do the multi-step portion of this is why this is so important. Okay, reading these word problems and breaking them down to understand that there's 2 steps in here. Okay? All right. So now I want you to try some on your own. So for those of you working at home right now, I want you to pause the video and try number 3 and 4 on your own. And then we will continue on to the next page for 5 and 6 in just a moment. But I want you to try the on your own. You see there's 2 pages of it. We're just going to do up to number 6, and then we're going to pause for there. Okay? So on your own right now, numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6 on the back, and then you can check back in with me after you've tried those on your own. Okay? If you want to hear me read the questions, you can go ahead and let the video run until I've actually read the question itself. Okay? Students in the 3rd and 4th grades plant trees in a park. The 3rd graders plant 7 trees. The 4th graders plant 3 times as many trees. How many trees do students in the 2 grades plant? Use a visual model or an equation to complete each step. Okay? So the important information I heard was that the 3rd graders planted 7 trees. The 4th graders planted 3 times as many. Good job, 4th graders. Okay, so I'm going to start my visual model over here. 3rd grade. Okay, and it says 3rd grade planted 7 trees. 4th grade planted 3 times as many. So I'm going to have 7, 7, 7. Okay? And this amount here is what I'm trying to solve for right now. Okay? So we would say that 3 times 7 equals M, and M equals 21. So we would say the 4th graders planted 21 trees, or plant 21 trees. Okay, hopefully you got that one right. The next part of the question says, find the number of trees students in the 2 grades planted. Well, I know that we just figured out that the 4th graders planted 21, the 3rd graders planted 7, so we would have 7 plus 21 equals N, and N equals 28, right? If we wanted to do that through a visual model, we would take the amount that the 3rd graders had, 7, and then we would take the amount that the 4th graders had, which now has been combined, so we don't need to break it up into the smaller chunks. We could just say that's 21, and there's our visual model showing N, and N is 28. Okay? Now down to the bottom. It says model with mathematics. Aditi takes 72 photos of animals. That is 9 times as many photos as Shane takes. How many fewer photos does Shane take than Aditi? Write equations to model and solve the problem. Let S equal the number of photos Shane takes. Let F equal how many fewer photos Shane takes than Aditi. Okay? You might want to pause the video for a moment and just read that again to yourself. Okay? There's a lot of funky names in there. There's lots of numbers and lots of questions to think about. So maybe just pause the video for a moment. Think about that to yourself. And now then let's go back and think about how we're going to solve that. Okay? So Aditi takes 72 photos of animals. which is 9 times as many photos as Shane takes. How many fewer photos does Shane take than Aditi? I'm going to box my question here. That's what I'm trying to solve, how many fewer. So it sounds like there's going to be some subtraction involved, but first I need to figure out this first step, 72 photos of animals, okay, which is 9 times as many photos as Shane takes. So I've got 9 times as many as Shane takes equals 72. Okay? So in order to solve that, I would want to do 72 divided by 9 equals S for Shane, and S equals 8. Okay? Now, the second part of the question says, how many fewer photos does Shane take than Aditi? Okay? 8 just gave us the amount that that Shane has. Okay? So, in order to find that, we would need to do 8 plus something equals 72. Okay? So 72 minus 8 equals F, and then F equals 64. Okay? So Shane takes 64 fewer photos. All right? Okay, getting the hang of it, guys. Hopefully, keeping up with me all right. Okay, we're just going to do 2 more questions on this page. Number 5 is the picture next to the manatee there. And it says, Rebecca sees 5 manatees swimming in Florida's Crystal River. Maya sees 3 times as many manatees as Rebecca. How many more manatees does Maya see than Rebecca? Okay. Rebecca sees 5 manatees. Maya sees 3 times as many manatees as Rebecca. How many more manatees does Maya see than Rebecca? Okay. By now, you guys are probably noticing that I cannot answer this question until I find out how many both people have seen. Okay. So Rebecca's is given to us. Okay. Rebecca, and I'm just going to do a quick little side note over here. Rebecca sees 5. Okay. And Maya sees 3 times as many as Rebecca. So she sees 3 times 5, which is 15. Okay, that's just a quick little note for me. I could do a bar graph. It's just basically for me just showing the quick steps of work that I've done. Okay, so all I did there was I said I took the 3 times 5, which equaled my unknown value, which was Maya's total, right? And that means that she saw 15. Okay. Now, Rebecca sees 5 manatees, so 5 plus something equals Rebecca's total of 15. So in order to find out how many more, so then we would say 15 minus 5 equals 10. So then we could say, sorry, I'm running out of room here. I'm going to come up here. Maya sees 10 more manatees. Okay. All right, and then finally, 6 is where we're going to stop for today. Nevada is the driest state. In most years, it gets only 9 inches of rain. Florida usually gets 6 times as much rain as Nevada, the rainiest state. Hawaii usually gets 10 more inches of rain than Florida each year. About how many inches of rain does Hawaii get in most years? Okay, so we've got 3 different states that we're talking about here. So 3 different sets of data that we're looking at. So Nevada is the driest state, and it only gets 9 inches of rain. Florida usually gets 6 times as much rain as Nevada. So I want to stop right there first and find out Florida's total. Okay, it says it gets 6 times as much rain as Nevada. So that would be 6 times 9 to give me Florida's total. So therefore, Florida would equal 6 times 9, which is 54. Now, I'm going to take that amount that I got and go to the next part here. The rainiest state, Hawaii, usually gets 10 more inches of rain than Florida. So it's not 10 times more, it's 10 more inches. So that would be now 54 plus the 10 more inches will give me Hawaii's total. And so then we would say Hawaii equals 54 plus 10, 64. Okay? So we would say Hawaii gets about 64 inches of rain. About. Okay? Now, I'm not assigning questions number 7 and 8 to you. That could be something that if you wanted to try on your own, you could. Challenge your brain a bit. For my purposes here today, we're going to pause at this point, and hopefully everyone is able to follow along with me. That will do it for today. And what I'll ask you to do tomorrow will be the lesson 3.5, more practice and homework. That's this page right here. Okay? So that'll be your assignment for tomorrow. So thank you to everyone who participated in the lesson today. If you've got questions about anything that I did or solved, please log into Google Classroom during our Google Meet and feel free to ask those questions, or I can straighten anything out for you, hopefully, or I'll do my best. Okay, guys? Have a great day, and I will see you the next time.